In the quiet corridors of Port Charles, where secrets often fester beneath polished smiles and powerful family legacies, a storm had been brewing, one that would shake the very foundation of trust, loyalty, and love. What began as a whisper behind closed doors erupted into a full-blown reckoning for three families bound by more than just blood and history. Portia Robinson, once the paragon of poise and professionalism, found herself ensnared in a situation far darker than she ever imagined. For weeks, she'd been acting out of character, distant, anxious, often seen staring blankly at her phone during hospital rounds, her mind clearly somewhere else. What most couldn't see was the psychological prison she'd been trapped in, thanks to the manipulations of a man whose charm and charisma had long masked his darker ambitions. Drew Cain had once been considered a hero by many in Port Charles, a man who had endured captivity and returned home a symbol of resilience. But recent months had changed him. Somewhere along the line, Drew became ruthless, his decisions sharper, colder, devoid of the moral compass that once defined him. When he learned of a secret Portia had long buried, something from her past that had the potential to ruin her marriage, her reputation, and even her medical license, he didn't hesitate to weaponize it. The specifics of the secret were never revealed to the public, but it was potent enough to grant Drew complete control over Portia's every move. She began handing over confidential medical records, manipulating hospital schedules, and even falsifying a minor patient report, each action chipping away at her ethical integrity. Portia hated herself for doing it, but the fear of exposure and the destruction of her life as she knew it was far more terrifying. She was cornered, and Drew knew it. But secrets in Port Charles never stay buried for long. Curtis Ashford, Portia's husband, had sensed something was wrong. His instincts, honed from years of life as a private investigator and former lawman, told him Portia was hiding something. At first, he chalked it up to stress from work or perhaps lingering grief from past traumas, but the lies were too carefully rehearsed, the inconsistencies too frequent. One evening, after Portia lied about working a double shift when he knew the hospital had been short-staffed, Curtis decided he could no longer ignore the warning signs. He started watching her, discreetly at first. But when he saw her slip into an abandoned wing of General Hospital late at night with Drew Cain close behind, every alarm in his body went off. What Curtis uncovered would break him. He followed them for several days. He listened in on tense conversations, watched Portia pass sealed folders to Drew, saw the guilt etched into her every movement. But the final straw came when he overheard Drew threatening her, his voice low and cold, promising to release damning evidence unless she continued to obey. Curtis, who had fought so hard to rebuild his life after a spinal cord injury, who had only recently reclaimed his sense of self and purpose, couldn't take it. His wife, the woman he trusted, was being blackmailed, used like a pawn by a man Curtis had once called a friend. The rage overtook him. What happened next wasn't calculated. It wasn't planned. It was primal. Curtis confronted Drew in the hospital parking lot just before sunrise. There were no cameras. No witnesses. Only the raw fury of a betrayed husband and the smug arrogance of a man who believed he was untouchable. Words were exchanged, sharp, venomous, final. And then Curtis snapped. The beating was brutal. Years of pain, betrayal, and frustration were poured into every punch. By the time security arrived, Drew was unconscious, his face bloodied, his ribs shattered, and a concussion confirmed upon arrival at the ER. Curtis didn't run. He didn't hide. He sat beside Drew's broken body, breathing heavily, his knuckles split and bleeding, and whispered, "This is what happens when you try to destroy my family." News of the altercation spread quickly, as it always does in Port Charles. But for one young man, the revelations that followed were almost too much to bear. Giovanni, Gio, Cerullo had always viewed Curtis and Portia as pillars of strength. As a teenager navigating the complexities of being the son of two powerful legacies, Brooke Lynn Quartermaine and Dante Falconeri, he had often found solace in the stability he saw in their marriage. Portia was like a second mother to him. Curtis, a quiet mentor whose resilience after paralysis had inspired Gio during his own darkest days. The knowledge that they were capable of lying, of hiding something so severe, left Gio disoriented. He confronted Portia first, demanding to know why she hadn't told anyone about the blackmail. Her tears did little to soothe him. Then he visited Drew's hospital room and saw a man unrecognizable, a predator cloaked in remorse. Gio was shattered. His world, already fragile from the weight of being caught between the Quartermaine and Corinthos dynasties, now felt like it was crumbling completely. He withdrew from those closest to him. He skipped classes at PCU, cancelled music gigs, and ignored texts from Emma and Trina. Eventually, Gio returned to the scene of the fight, the now empty parking lot behind General Hospital. He sat alone for hours, staring at the bloodstains still faintly visible on the concrete, symbolic of a truth he wished he could forget. For the first time, Gio realized that no one in Port Charles was innocent. Not even the ones he admired most. Portia was suspended from General Hospital pending an internal investigation. Curtis was arrested but later released on bail after several influential figures in town spoke on his behalf, describing Drew's behavior as predatory, and the assault as an emotional breaking point, not an act of malice. Drew, meanwhile, suffered internal injuries that would sideline him for months. But the true wounds weren't physical, they were the cracks that now ran through the relationships in every corner of the city. The aftermath would take months to settle. Some wounds might never heal. Portia would have to rebuild her career from scratch, under the weight of public scrutiny and self-loathing. Curtis would wrestle with guilt, not for hitting Drew, but for not seeing the signs sooner. And Gio, once so full of hope, would have to learn that sometimes, the people you trust most are capable of the deepest betrayals. In Port Charles, forgiveness is never free. And for those who dare to cross the line, redemption might be out of reach.